Hello, my name is Melissa Reamer, and I decided to do Carrabba's Italian Grill for my internship in spring 2016. A little bit of history about Carrabba's. They're a restaurant chain which is owned by Bloomin' Brands. They're headquartered in Tampa, Florida, and were founded in about 1986. Johnny Carrabba and his uncle Damien is who started the company, where their first restaurant was opened in Houston, Texas. About a decade later, they were joined by Outback, where they expanded, and in 1995, Carrabba's was granted the title of being a nationwide chain. Today, they have over 230 locations, and they're specifically an in-scratch kitchen that features a variety of Italian cuisines. Today, Carrabba's in Bloomin' Brands is also followed by Bonefish, as well as Outback. The Egg Harbor Township location is where I did my internship, where my manager and I, pre-internship, decided to come up with a few common issues that this specific location entailed. They have low number clientele, they have low alcohol sales, decreased specific wine sales, which are the house red and house white, a new menu rollout, which we did in October, and they had an increase of customer dissatisfaction this year. For my project, I decided to do two different studies of trial and error in the restaurant. Study number one, we decided to change the measurement of oil that goes out to each table to reduce the quantity of oil used in the restaurant and to generally cut costs. We changed from free pouring bottle to a small ladle that was about 2 spoonfuls. Each table comes with the herb mix and oil as well as a loaf of bread, and we're very known for that, so the customers took very short amount of time to figure out we changed the quantity. So some considerations I put into this was the customer getting less oil to dip the bread in, and also the waiter waitress has to continually go back and forth if there is request for more oil. So the result overall I found was negative. We used more oil actually than originally used, and we had an increase of customer dissatisfaction. The second trial and error I decided to do was study number 2, which was greeting each table with a bottle of either Pinot Grigio or Gabbiano Chianti. This was one white wine and one red wine that Carrabba's decided to feature for the month. So you would do your regular trained intro to your table, as well as holding this bottle of wine as a prop and mentioning its features for the month. So some considerations I put into this was putting the wine in the customer's face, whether people would be offended or not liking the specific wine you offered, the waiter or waitress holding onto the bottle of wine while taking the order, and not having enough knowledge of the actual wine you were holding. The result for this was also negative. We had multiple people offended by this. We actually had 4 people leave the restaurant due to this intro. They generally disliked the wine that was offered, and there were decreased wine sales. So after we did these 2 studies, I decided to give a survey out to the employees to kind of see their input on this. To your left here, you could see the questions that we used for the survey. And then on the right here, you could see we distributed to 15 people altogether. 9 were female, 6 were male, and then the ages ranged anywhere from 18 to over 30. So some results we had were the time span with the location generally was under a year. To a year was the most popular, and with the company was 3 years and under. We had 7 servers take the survey. We had 3 bartenders, 2 managers, and 3 carside hosts. So the results I put on here were the oil ladle satisfaction. We had 12 people write that their customers were dissatisfied. We had only 1 satisfaction, and we had 2 people say they saw no change. For the oil request increase of their customers asking for more oil, we had 10 people say yes and 5 people say no. For presenting wine to every table, generally 7 servers said that their customers were dissatisfied, and 8 people said there was no change. The reason I said 7 servers said they were dissatisfied is because those that said no change were either a bartender, car side, and some were servers. For alcohol sale increase after presenting wine, we had 0 people say yes and 15 people say no. So some personal solutions that I found to my studies was solution number 1, oil should remain free poured with an oil bottle to ensure an appropriate amount of oil and customer satisfaction. We found that lessening the oil actually didn't cut cost and it just made people angry, so free pouring it is the most beneficial to the company. Solution number 2, we found instead of bringing a whole bottle of wine, we just offer featured wine samples. This way you're not giving customer right off the bat in the face bottle of wine. They don't feel obligated to buy anything. You're just letting them know of little samples they can try and different featured wines that they might have never heard of. This ensures that alcohol sales can go up and won't go down. And it also encourages right off the bat alcohol consumption. This brings your guest checks up. It also brings your overall sales up. So overall conclusion for these studies was the guests dining at Carrabba's prefer free poured oil instead of a measured oil base. And when you give guests measured oil, they often complain about the quantity and request more oil more often. My second conclusion was guests dining at Carrabba's do not like being presented a bottle of wine upon a greeting. They generally like to come in and relax first before thinking of something to drink. Verbal explanations of or offering samples gave guests more satisfaction than using an actual prop. So the little thing I did as well was I made a hostess training manual because Carrabba's actually doesn't have one. The turnover rate for hostess at Carrabba's are generally 2 to 7 months. So training is very discreet and they don't really get a training program. They're kind of just told what to do. So right here I put the definition, the description, and what they should look for upon hiring. I put availability twice because this has been a frequent problem in the restaurant lately, especially at this specific location. People will say they're available and it will be written down, but it constantly changes, and I feel like it's unfair to kind of not let people take the availability they need. Carrabba's does a good job with availability due to their app they use. It's called Hot Schedules. This gives you the free range ability to drop or pick up shifts whenever needed. Here I put a little walkthrough of day 1, day 2, and day 3 of what the host should be doing. Day 1 is generally a store walkthrough and kind of just the gist of everything that is going on. Mostly verbal descriptions and a tour of what the host stand looks like and common places you would go. Day 2, I did kind of an orientation and a meeting, so that way you're able to know your role in the restaurant as well as how your role affects other people's role in the restaurant. Day 3, I generally said they should take a closing shift, so they had both an open and a closed shift available to them so they know what to do for each shift. This takes out any confusion for training as well as scheduling, so you know that each host is able to open and close because they were done in training. They generally, day 3, should know how to do everything as well as seat guests. And we also would like them to take the menu test because we feel that them having knowledge of the food is just as beneficial as the servers having knowledge of the food. Okay, so that was my project, and thank you very much. I had a great semester.